Hi there everyone, this is Boris Joaquin and I'm so delighted to be with you all. Good afternoon. This is the People Manager Association of the Philippines webinar, and our topic for this session is strategic directions, making strategy work for you. Now, this is the strategic planning session season, meaning everybody's doing it, everybody's gathering their teams, their leadership, management teams. They're trying to come up with ways to actually plan for the next year or the next 5 years. So it's very critical for you to understand some of the basic elements when it comes to strategic planning or strategy planning. So in this particular session, we call it strategic direction because we're going to give you some tips, elements, and probably some tools that you can use in your own organization or team just to be able to plan well. We want you to make strategy work for you as opposed to you being confused or think that strategy is so complicated in your action plans in reaching your marketing or sales target. Okay? Now for this workshop, so it's a virtual workshop. I'm not there with you. I wish I could be, but the beauty of this webinar, it's for free. The content is still as valuable as the live workshop would be. But nonetheless, as I start all my workshop, I always tell my participant, you need to be expectant. I don't want you to have expectations because that will disappoint you. I want you to be expectant. And maybe sabihin na expectant. When we say that you're expectant, normally it refers to pregnant women. Women who are expecting their babies. They don't know what's up ahead, how the baby's gonna turn out. They probably know the gender ahead of time. But nonetheless, they love the baby, right? So, in the same manner, I want you to be at the edge of your seat, be expectant, be looking forward, be a learner, and just take everything that you'll be hearing from me and use it as an opportunity, as a springboard to learn or to use it as a tools when it comes to planning together with your fellow leaders and with your company. So the key word for today is to be expectant, to be excited, to be looking forward, to be a learner, absorb everything like a sponge. Because for strategy to work for you and your group, you need to be a learner yourself and embrace the things that would allow you to use strategy for the good of your company. Okay, so let's begin. Our agenda for today, in just a span of an hour or 45 minutes, these are the following items in our agenda. When it comes to strategic direction, there are also the key elements or the key components. The first one is purpose, so we're going to talk about purpose. We're going to talk about perspectives as well. Perspectives, okay? So purpose, perspectives, and then after that, we're going to talk about problems. Not specific problems, because I know that each company or each group who's watching right now, you're coming from different groups with different problems, also with different perspectives. So your problem would be unique for you, but I'm going to teach you on how do you deal with problems, how do you compartmentalize problems, how do you categorize problems, and how are you supposed to view problems in general. And then finally, of course, planning. We're going to talk about planning because this entire webinar is about strategic planning, okay? So again, just to recap, the 4 P's of strategic direction is purpose, perspective, problems, and planning, okay? So let's begin. Let's talk about the definition of strategy first. There's 3 words that I like you to remember about strategy. Big, specific, actionable. When you refer to strategy, those are the 3 key words that are very important because number 1, strategy is big. When we talk about strategy, we're referring to a vision, and a vision is something huge, it's large, it's important, it's valued, okay? It's not specific, it's not small, it's not too detailed. I mean, it's the big picture. So when we talk about strategy, we're looking at the vision of your corporation, something that matches your V&V, vision, mission, values. We're talking about looking ahead, what's the forecast, what's the foresight. We're looking at how your leader is seeing your company move forward in the years to come, okay? And then the second word is, it's also specific. Now, it may sound ironic, but yes, while it is big, it's not necessarily vague, Okay? Now let me clarify that. While it is big, it's not necessarily vague. It has to be clear. It has to be succinct. It has to be specific. Now, when we say it's specific, we're now talking about some technical words here that we normally use for strategic planners. We have goals, we have timelines, we have deadlines, we have outcomes, we have milestones. Because we should be able to measure things, right? We should be able to measure our growth or progress. Otherwise, it's the big strategy that you have will be vague and blurry and ambiguous, and you don't want that. You want your strategy to be clear, and in order for it to be clear, it has to be specific driven as well. And then the third word is actionable. Now, what do we mean by actionable? Now, it can't be a drawing on the wall or a sign that is enigmatic and intangible. Now, it has to be concrete and something that is easily implemented, or something that's feasible, something that can be executed by your team, or something within the realms of possibilities. When we say actionable, these are specific next steps or key actions that allows you to align what happens now with what's intended for the future. Okay? Do you get that? So it's like your next steps. It's like identifying what are the initial steps, or what we're going to discuss later, lead measures, and eventually some lag measures. Okay? So again, let me repeat those three words. When it comes to strategy, it has to be big, it has to be specific, and it also has to be actionable. Okay? Now let's talk about the first P. Remember the 4 P's that I mentioned a while ago: purpose, perspective, problems, and planning. So the first one is purpose. I believe that strategy has to be purpose-driven. It has to be purposeful. Now, for your strategy to be purposeful, we need to understand what it means to have a sense of purpose in your strategy. Every company, every organization has what we call a vision. A vision is an imagined idea or goal towards which one or an organization aspires for. Okay? Now, those of you who are listening to me in your offices, if you are bundled together as a group, or even if you're just an individual, now I want you to try this. Okay? I want you to stand up now with your right hand. Okay, can you tell where the north is? I want you to point where the north is. Okay, can you do that? Now, if you're by yourself, then just point to the north by yourself. I mean, wala kang kasama, so just do it by yourself. But if you're with other people, to make it extra fun and challenging, I would encourage you for everybody to actually cover your 2 eyes with your left hand. But with your right hand, try to point to where the north is. Okay? Can you do that? So, sabay-sabay, let's do it all together. Cover 2 of your eyes with your left hand, and with your right hand, point to where the north is. At the count of 3. 1, 2, point to the north. 3. Okay? Now, for example, I assume the north is here. Okay? Now, keep your hands where you're pointing. Is that your final answer? Okay? All together now, let's all remove the hands covering both of our eyes. Okay? 1, 2, 3. Now, for those of you who are in a large group, I want you to look around you. What do you see? You're probably seeing something like this. Now look at the slide. These are people pointing in different directions. Okay? Now, this is what an organization looks like if they don't have a common vision. They're pointing in different directions, right? That's how important purpose and vision is. Knowing your purpose and your vision allows you to point all at the same direction. Okay? In my case, I don't know where the north is, but I can check. I can check my digital camera, my digital app, and wait a sec. According to my digital app, the north is over here. Okay, so I was wrong. I was trying to point here. So I don't know in your case, maybe you can check your digital app as well, or maybe you can just look at the compass. But here's the thing. If you do not know where the north is, in my case, this is where the north is, but I was pointing straight at the camera thinking that this is my north, you're headed for the wrong direction, and you don't want that. Vision gives us a sense of direction. Companies are more successful if they're driven by a clear and intentional purpose. Now let's look at some examples here. I'm going to flash some companies on the screen. Now, for example, Google, Walt Disney, and Apple. Now these are three different companies, diverse and very different in the line of business that they do. Google is more internet driven. Walt Disney is more multifaceted because of the films, the theme parks, and all that. And then Apple is actually a gadget or technology-based company. Now let's look at some of the vision statements that they have. Like number one, Google says to organize the world's information, making it universally accessible and useful. And then Walt Disney, the vision statement of Walt Disney is this: to bring happiness to millions using imagination. And then Apple is this: making a dent in the universe through technological innovation. Now, these three vision statements are so clear and intentional, you can almost imagine why it actually gives you an idea why they're doing what they're doing. For example, Google is so obvious. They want to provide information, and they want to make information accessible to millions, to billions of people. And that's why they're doing what they're doing. They're actually not just a search engine right now, but they provide storages for a cloud-based storage for your data, for your photos, for your videos, for almost anything. So it's not just basically allowing you to search, but also allowing you to store and share, which is essentially what their vision statement is. Now look at Walt Disney. They want to bring happiness. Happiness is a key word for Walt Disney. Using imagination. So it's creativity. It's creating and recreating. Like right now, I think I don't know if Maleficent will be showing by the time this webinar is broadcasted. But Maleficent is a reimagination of a fairy tale. Now it's creating anti-villains or anti-heroes. And it's amazing how they use imagination to bring happiness to different people, right? So they're also like producing movies. And there was a time that they only have those princesses and fairy tales, but they just recently bought Marvel, remember? So they now own Captain America, Iron Man. They also own Spider-Man. Well, not Spider-Man, Sony owns that. But most of the Marvel characters. So I don't know, maybe the idea was to match the superheroes with the princesses. But the idea is to bring happiness to millions using imagination. And of course, Apple. We know Apple as a company that disrupted technology as we know it. IBM was dominating. The world of computing was in a certain shape and size until Apple came in and make it smaller and sexier and sassier and stylish. And now although other brands like Samsung is being competitive and heading the flock, Apple is still there trying to maintain its market leadership. So it's amazing how you see the hows and the ways of these companies based on their whys. Now that's a very critical point. Companies who know their why understand their purpose and understand their vision. Companies who understand their vision and their purpose, they know where they're going. It directs them to find their ways and the hows and the things that will bring them to that destination. Now look at this chart. This is a survey that was done by Deloitte primarily in Europe, but across the globe, I suppose, because some companies are operating in different parts of the world. But this survey was done with over 1,000 companies, and it basically just shows us that 42% of the companies are most likely to be successful if they are purpose-driven. All right? Now, there are companies who have purpose statements or vision statements, but are not really acting on it. Remember when we said about strategy, it has to be big, specific, but actionable. But if you're not acting on it, then they're just posters on the wall. And they're kind of stagnant with that. They're not really outperforming, unlike those purpose-driven companies. And companies with no purpose or vision statement at all, they're probably underperforming at 42%. So this is what the survey is saying. And this is a writing on the wall that tells us that vision is very important. Your strategy is anchored on your company's vision statement. So maybe it's good to revisit that. And if the vision statement is not big, nor is it clear or specific, and neither is it actionable, then maybe we should revise that and make some changes so that your vision is something that everybody can embrace and that everybody can own. Because if your people own the vision, it's easier to plan and develop further strategies and goals, set some goals for your company to actually head towards that final destination, which is your vision statement. Okay? Now, in the reference for this idea of when I was telling you they know their why, Apple, Google, and then Walt Disney, they know their why. Simon Sinek in his book, Start With Your Why, was sharing about the golden circle. And this is what you're seeing on your screen right now. The circle is composed of three essential components. The what, which is the outer circle, and then the how, and then the core of it all is what we call the why. Now, it's very important for people to understand why they're doing what they're doing. Because in practice, people are more motivated if they know the why. And now just look at yourself for a minute and try to evaluate. Normally when you communicate with your people, especially managers, you always start with the what, right? You tell them what to do, when to do it. And if they do not know it, they don't have any idea on what you're talking about, then you will tell them the how. You will explain to them, you will mentor them, coach them on how to execute it. Those are good, but it's lacking motivational or intrinsic motivation, and that is the why. Historical psychology has proven that people are more motivated and most likely to go extra mile or add value to their work if they know their whys. I mean, just look at children. I don't know who among you here are parents. I'm a parent of two daughters. Me and my wife, we have two daughters. My eldest is 18 years old. She's now in college in Ateneo. And my youngest is 12 years old, still in grade 7. And one of the things that we noticed with our children when they were growing up is they become more smarter and more, they take the initiative if they know the why. And they obey better if they know the why. Now here's the problem with parents. A lot of kids would normally ask us, lalapit yan sa parents, and they would say, why mommy, why daddy? Or in sa Tagalog, they would say, bakit daddy, bakit na ang kulit ng mga bata ngayon? Di ba? They say, bakit? And then tayong mga parents, masyado tayong busy and we just respond to them and say, basta, sumunod ka na lang. And whenever you do that, it actually hinders or hampers their holistic development. Instead of them embracing and absorbing and owning the things that they're hearing from you, they would just drift away and be drawn by something else. So when you want your children, parang parenting seminar na to, but on the side, if you want your children to actually grow holistically, you want to answer their whys. And once they know their whys, they will find their way. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your circumstances, adults behave the same way. They need to know the why in order to find their way. Because when they know their why, the how is easier. Yes. So when you motivate your people, when we talk about strategy, when we talk about vision, we're talking about a basic, fundamental, psychological framework, which is the why. And that's the purpose, okay? Even on a personal perspective, have you ever wondered if you have purpose? Do you know why you're doing what you're doing? Why you're working in the company where you're working right now? So maybe that's a critical question to answer in your life as well. One of the things that I advocate personally is what my wife and I call Project Purpose. It's an advocacy that started out among young people. And my daughter, my eldest daughter Isabel, is part of this, and her friends are part of it. And they're normally people at the young age of 30 and below. But we've actually expanded that already. Since I work as a learning and development professional, I realized that most companies and most of my clients, nowadays they're actually interested in the entire workshop and concept of Project Purpose. So we've been teaching this from one company to another because essentially people are more productive if they know their purpose. I even have a client, I won't mention their name, they even include purpose in their performance appraisal. Personal purpose, not their corporate purpose. Because they believe that employees are more motivated if they can pursue their personal purpose, whether in music, in physical fitness, in traveling, in the arts, and what have you, in humanitarian causes. If they become more involved with the company's targets and milestones and well-being, because it also benefits them. It's basically answering the question, what's in it for them, or what's in it for me? Your employees are asking the same thing. So again, just to be on the side, the reason why you're doing your strategic planning is to always have a clear-cut understanding of what your purpose is all about, what your vision is, right? In Project Purpose, I want to show this to you, and in this slide, there are 3 V's. V as in victory, okay? Not boy. Okay? So there are 3 V's on determining your purpose. The first one is vision, and we're talking about vision, and that is your why. And then we're talking about your values. Your values are kind of your principles, what guides you into getting where you're going. And then vehicles are your platforms, okay? So let me repeat that. Vision, values, and vehicles. Your vehicles brings you closer to your values. To your vision. And your values helps you make decisions. So vision is where you're going. Vehicles helps you get there. Values helps you decide. Now, as a company, that's what the VMV is like. Vision, mission, value. So it's almost the same, right? So you have the vision, and that's the purpose of the company. I don't know, reach the 10 billion mark, or create as many stores all over the Philippines. That could be your vision, right? And then you have the vehicles are the mission. That's your how, okay? And what actually brings you closer to what you're doing, or your what, your platform. Your values now actually guides you there. A lot of companies would normally choose integrity as a value. But Walt Disney, for example, one of their key values is happiness. So as long as it makes you happy, and another value they have is creativity and imagination, and as long as you use imagination and creativity, those are critical for them to reach their desired vision or final destination. In the same manner, Apple was saying they want to create a dent in the universe through innovation and technology. Innovation is their values. They really need to come up with something new. Otherwise, they won't be Apple, right? Now, Google is making things accessible. If it's hard for you to use, Google wouldn't employ that, or they'll turn it down, or there were some apps that Google decided to pull out altogether because it's not usable, it's not relevant, and neither is it easy for most consumers who's using Google at this point. So that's really how it comes together, whether personal or corporate. Your purpose has to have a vision, has to have sets of values, and then you decide what vehicles brings you closer to your vision. And that's where strategy actually comes in play also. Like when you do your strategic planning, it's almost like identifying which vehicles you will choose, right? Let me clarify the connections there. Like for example, I want to get to a certain destination, right? Like Makati, I live in Quezon City. So my final destination or my vision is Makati. I live in Quezon City. Now, right now my car's aircon is broken, so it's not working. But if I take my car going to Makati, I would save on transportation costs because gasoline is a lot cheaper rather than me commuting, for example. My options are, I could, other than my airconless car, I could take the Grab or I can take the MRT. Okay, so I have three options there: my airconless car, the MRT, which probably has aircon, and then a Grab which has aircon. Now, in terms of convenience, I don't think the MRT will be convenient for me because I would probably have two other vehicles in order to get there. From my home to the station to Makati, another vehicle going to my office. Not really convenient. If my values is convenience, I probably wouldn't take that. The most convenient choices are my airconless car or getting a Grab. Okay? So, now I make the comparison. If I take the Grab, I took the app and I check it, and coming from Quezon City to Makati during that very particular rush hour would cost me 900 pesos. 900 pesos from Quezon City to Makati. One of my values is kuripot ako, and I'm very prudent. So instead of taking the Grab, titiisin ko na lang yung airconless car ko. I will still get there. I just decided to bring lang extra clothes so that when I reach Makati, even though I'm drenched with sweat, I can just change, wipe off my sweat, and then put on my shirt that would make me presentable to everybody in the office. So do you follow what I'm saying? My destination is Makati. My vehicles were my airconless car, the MRT, and Grab taxi. My values are convenience and prudence. Now, those values help me make the decision on which platform to take. When you're doing your strategic planning, your values corporately, you must decide as a company, as a team, ano yung mga values natin. Because when you choose your marketing vehicles, when you choose your marketing channels, once you choose which partnerships to go for, or what strategy or directions to take, your values will help you screen or sift through those choices and make a decision. Okay? I like this quote in the Bible. It's found in Proverbs 29:18. It actually says like this, it reads like this: where there is no vision, the people perish. Again, where there is no vision, people perish. So in a similar manner, I think in a very big way, there's wisdom there. If the company, if your group lack vision or walang vision at all, magdudusa ang mga empleyado. You don't know where you're going. You're pointing at different directions, right? So purpose is all about vision, your final destination, and knowing where you're going. Purpose, when the why is known, the how is easy. I want you to remember that. When the why is known, the how is easy. Alright? In the same manner, I encourage you individually, I need you to have your personal strategy. I mean, what's your strategy? What's your strategic direction? And what you're seeing in the screen right now, this is what I call my vision board. And in the middle of the board is my vision statement. And you can see a collage of different pictures, right? But everything that I do, including this seminar, is connected to my strategic direction. I'm following, this is a vehicle. I love doing this because it's connected to my personal purpose. I'm doing this gig with Rappler because because it's connected to my personal purpose, and I love doing my online show. If I do my seminars with my clients, if I write an article for Inquirer, if I do Project Purpose, or if I do this seminar for children in different public schools, they're all connected to my personal purpose, and they're part of my strategic direction. Every year, I do the same thing. I do my own personal planning. So tama-tama, it's October or November, towards the end of the year, it's probably good to spend some time to have some reflection. Ako personally, I decide on what are the things that I will retain, what are the things that I will remove, and what are the things that I will resolve to do. Parang New Year's resolution. But first, kailangan ko muna mag-decide, ano yung tatanggalin ko, ano yung maikikip ko. Retain, remove, resolve. Okay? On a personal note, that is a very good advice for you to be strategic also in your life. Okay? Good. Because it doesn't matter where you came from, what matters most is where you are going. Second, let's talk about perspective. Now, ano yung perspective? Sa Tagalog, ito yung pananaw mo. Di ba, kanya-kanya tayo ng pananaw. Ako may sarili akong pananaw, yung boss ko may sariling pananaw, yung colleague ko may sariling pananaw, yung kliyente ko may sariling pananaw. We all have different perspectives, right? Let me test this for you guys. So what do you see in this picture that I'm showing to you right now? Okay. Just keep it to yourself. I'm going to show you another picture. What do you see in this picture that I'm showing you right now? Okay? Now, let's look at the third picture. What do you see right now? Okay. Now, baka nalito kayo ng konti, or baka napaghalo ninyo yung first two pictures na pinakita ko. Some of you might say, I'm seeing a lady, a body of a woman. Some of you would be saying, I'm seeing an old guy, a grandfather. Or some of you are saying, parang si Donald Trump yun. Pwede rin. Pwede. It could actually, yeah, all three could be correct. Yan ang tinatawag na perspective. Nahaluan na kasi ng konti yung, yung pananaw ninyo. Some of you saw the first picture and the second picture. Na-retain ninyo either picture. Now, when you look at the third picture, you're actually seeing doubles. You're seeing another thing. Some people are concentrated lang on the woman kasi ang gusto nila makita babae. Or some of you are just focused on the old guy kasi yung pinaka nag-strike sa inyo. Or some of you are making an impression of Donald Trump kasi, I don't know, whatever political inclinations you have. But there's that thing that's embedded in your mind, which is what we call perspectives. Okay? Now, when it comes to strategic planning, delikado yan. If you are stuck to your own personal perspectives, it's good to be open-minded, to be open on other people's perspective, to converge and collaborate. Okay? And this is what this word will be coming in as an important concept for you guys. And the word is paradigm. We all have paradigms, and we need to shift our paradigm in order to achieve the vision, the strategy, or the goals of the organization. Okay? Paradigm is the way we see or perceive a situation, a person, or a thing. Some of you have been in the company for so long now. I mean, you've seen things happen. You've seen the company go up and down. You see the trends. You see competition. Some of you are newcomers, so you have a new perspective, and you're dying to try new things. The way we see or perceive a certain situation, that's your personal paradigm, right? And we often base our solutions on what has been done before or based on our experience because that's our paradigm. Now, we need to remember that although we have our own respective perspectives or paradigm, we need to be open-minded. We need to be welcoming to the paradigms and perspectives of other people, okay? Because when you conduct your strategic planning, you will have brainstorming after brainstorming, and this is what I hate about people who are stuck with their own perspective or stubborn with their own paradigm. They battle for their lives in order to preserve or push for their own perspective. Parang ipaglalaban ko yung pananaw ko. Now, that may be good to a certain extent if it's a principle, if it's a moral conviction. But if it's just an idea or something that brings a solution to a certain problem or gives a measure or program to your marketing plans, then you need to have an open mind and listen to other ideas as well. And nobody knew that startups would actually dominate a lot of the marketplace right now, and they have. They don't really have to be structured and stable organizations or multinationals at that, but they're actually driving disruptions and innovation in our world today. So I need you to be very open-minded with a lot of things. Now, one of the things that I'm going to teach you, this is a wonderful tool. This is the Lean Startup tool. Okay, and when they came up with the Lean Startup, it's actually observing a lot of the startup organizations out there. Kaya siya lean startup kasi they're small organizations, and being small, they can afford to be flexible. I mean, they can do things differently. They can try something and then, parang recalibrate and try something new. Parang kakasubo ko lang ng something last week, panibago na naman this week. They can afford to do that. But we can also learn from them, and it's basically a 3-step process, and you'll see here. It says build, measure, and learn, okay? When you have ideas, programs, even new products, sometimes if you can afford to do it, build it first, okay? Try it out, measure, and then learn from it, okay? Now, when we say we build, normally parang you build a minimum viable product or a minimum viable option. It could be a program, an activity, it could be I don't know, a mechanics, something that you want to try or do, and then you just test it with a certain number of individuals. If you can afford to test it with your entire consumer base, then why not? So when you measure things, you actually get to decide, okay? That's where the learning comes in. Whether you pivot or persevere. Ano ibig sabihin nun? When we persevere, ibig sabihin, okay, maganda yung resulta, let's continue doing it. Okay, let's not stop. We're a success. Your idea that you built has been measured, and we know that it's something worth pursuing. Keep on pushing it. Push lang, di ba? But when we say pivot, we actually go back to the drawing board and rethink the product, the program, or the initiative, or the event that we came up with. Maybe it's something that we have to shelve, or maybe just revisit, review, and then revise, and then try it again. So the cycle just keeps on going. Build, measure, learn. So ikot lang yan. And sometimes when you do your planning, meron tayong katawag na paralysis of the analysis. Usap ng usap, plano ng plano, analyze ng analyze, research ng research. Pag napag-usapan, just try lang natin. Okay, first quarter, try natin. If it works, then let's keep on doing it. Second, third, and fourth. And then maybe for the succeeding years, it can be an institutional product or program. Now, kung hindi siya mag-work, then let's just pivot it for the next quarter or hold it muna until we find if it's really useful or worth pursuing next time. We're going to discuss how we handle that later, okay? I just want you to remember the Lean Startup Measure framework. It's going to be helpful in managing options, ideas, different perspectives, and different paradigms, okay? Now, this is where the third P comes in, problems, okay? And normally, ang daming problema, di ba? But to begin with, the company is confronted with a lot of problems. Competition, industry regulations, the landscape of the marketplace, globalization, and whatever other regulation you may have there, and even change shifts and behaviors, disruptions, technology advancements. Some of us may consider them as problems. But this is what we always tell strategic planners and a lot of our clients when you're doing strategic planning. View problems as opportunities. Whenever there's a problem, consider them as opportunities, because they may be an opportunity for you to grow, overcome, expand, or maybe create new innovations, like what we said a while ago, build, measure, and learn, and just try out new things. It's a good exercise for the mind and for the team as well, to always come up with something crazy and just put them all together. So, and look at this. Look at some of the clients, some of these companies that looked at problems and saw them as opportunities. Well, to begin with, you all know AirAsia. AirAsia created, globally, we have Cebu Pacific here, but globally, they created affordable airfares for the masses. So basically, anybody can fly. There used to be a time that it's so expensive just to fly out to Singapore. Now, flying to Singapore or Hong Kong is just as flying to one of our provinces here in the archipelago, right? So it's not just, because companies like AirAsia and Cebu Pacific, they're coming up with solutions, and they're seeing problems like expensive airfares as opportunities to come up with alternatives. Of course, Apple is already a classic in that arena. Let's look at some local examples here. Human Nature. Okay, now, Human Nature came up with they're selling personal care products, hygiene products, hair care, skin care, and they're actually a threat to the multinationals now, like Unilever and P&G. But they wanted to produce quality, environment-friendly products, but they also want to address one other problem. How do you alleviate poverty in the country? And you know, the founders of Human Nature are good friends of mine. They're also part of Gawad Kalinga, which actually helps and produce a lot of humanitarian programs like building houses. But one of the programs that they have recently is livelihood programs. So just imagine the way they connected that. So they're solving not just a problem when it comes to women and families wanting personal care products, but they are also helping alleviate the poverty situation of the country. So talk about problems converted into opportunities. And they're thriving. They're not just surviving as an organization or company, it's a business, they're thriving. Of course, you have rags to riches. And we all know the opportunity there. They saw rags, Raul Laurel saw rags as a possible couture design for, let's say, a wine holder or a bag and other accessory items. And the women in Payatas, the surviving women of Payatas, family of Payatas, they're the ones who are weaving and making those items being sold here and abroad at a price that enables them to sustain their business but also help compensate them very well. So just like Human Nature, it's solving two problems. It's hitting two birds with one stone. And recently I interviewed Angie Tam, and she's the founder of Angkas. You know Angkas, have you ever ridden Angkas? Have you ever had an app and you tried riding one of those motorcycles? If you think about it, Angkas was born out of a Filipino transportation mode called the habal-habal. And I used to work in Cebu, and I've seen habal-habal like a common fare for a lot of commuters there. But the people behind Angkas, they're professionalizing habal-habal. And that's again a problem. I mean, traffic is a problem by itself. That's a problem that's being converted into an opportunity. These are just examples when you see it from a larger, impactful scale. But in your own organization, I'm going to give you two tools to actually convert problems into opportunities. Okay, one of them is what we call Milestones and Misses. So it's an analysis of previous performance. Okay, so what you need to do is identify the milestones that you've achieved in the past year, 2 years, 3 years, and identify the misses, the opportunities that you missed. Yung sayang, hindi namin nagawa yan, okay? And then you decide later on which milestone do you want to continue or stop doing, and then which misses do you feel like sayang to, balikan natin, let's pursue it. Or okay lang na miss natin to, huwag na natin i-karirin, huwag natin i-pursue. Okay? So now you can see that chart on the screen. You can also use it in your own organization. So that's a first tool on analyzing problems and converting them into opportunities. The second tool is what we call the SOAR. Ano lang siya? It's an alternative to SWOT. Familiar kayo sa SWOT, di ba? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Ito, kaya siya SOAR, S-O-A-R. Meron pa ring strengths, meron pa ring opportunities, pero instead of weaknesses, we call it areas for improvement. And then yung R, yung risk, parang threats. Okay? So you just identify each one of them. Ano yung mga strengths ng companies ninyo? Ano yung mga opportunities? Ano yung mga areas for improvement? Because again, weaknesses should not be ignored. They should be improved. And then identify the risks that you face, because again, if you can solve them, then you can overcome it, and it becomes an opportunity for you to actually grow and be better at what you're doing. Okay? So milestones and misses, and then SOAR. Alright, so now on to our last P. Ito yung planning na. Ito yung planning proper. So, just to be able to review your past year, magandang tingnan yung milestones and misses, Magandang tingnan yung SOAR. And then remember, people have different perspectives. Okay lang yun. Paradigms will be paradigms. We need to shift our paradigms to be open to other options that we have and be open for brainstorming and, I don't know, just be able to bring ideas and see whether those are feasible ones. Look at areas for opportunities. Areas for improvements rather, and problems, and convert them into opportunities for improvement or for growth. Now, when it comes to planning, we have now to draw the roadmap. Okay, and this is where the rubber hits the road, and it's very difficult. Now, I like this quotation that my team had, and I think it's been shared in some of the workshops that we had. When planning is easy, execution is tedious. When planning is hard, execution is easy. And I always tell my client, do you want your execution to be easy or tedious? Normally, gusto nila syempre implementation easy. So we need to make our planning tedious. So mga 2 days minimum, 3 days maximum. Let's all go through our SOAR, our milestones and misses. Let's review them. Let's put them together. Convert problems into opportunities. Look at our vision and our purpose, and then line up the things that we're supposed to do. When you get all of these things right, the next thing that you want to do is your action plan. Remember what we said about strategy a while ago? 3 words: big, specific, actionable. So you want to be specific and actionable, right? And because of that, kailangan may action plan ka. Or for some organizations, they call it goal setting. Set sila ng goals, and then they will try to put some measurements for it. Okay? Now, to simplify this particular part, I want to teach you one particular tool which I think is going to be very, very helpful. This is the lead and lag measure. Have you ever heard of that? Okay, lead, L-E-A-D, lag is L-A-G. Okay, now normally ang tingin sa lag parang internet. Uy, lagging internet, hindi siya gumagana. It's a different word. Okay, lead and lag measures. Ano yung pinagkaiba nila? The lead measure is the activity. The lag measure is the result. Okay? The lead measure is the goal or something that you influence other people to do. The lag measure is a specific numerical measurement. The lead measure is what you get to do, and then the lag measure is what you get when you do what you're supposed to do. Okay? Let's make it personal. I want to lose weight. To be honest, I actually gain weight. So medyo I'm on the heavy side now. I think in my last webinar, if you remember, I was probably 30 pounds lighter. So I want to get rid of this extra 30 pounds. Okay, so obvious yung goal ko. My vision is to lose 30 pounds. Now my lead measures are, I'll probably do jogging every morning. Okay, my 30 minutes run. And then I will do my crunches, my sit-ups, my push-up, and then my planking exercises. Those are my activities. Now, my lag measures would be, okay, hindi lang ako basta tatakbo kasi that's the activity, 30 minutes sprint, and then walking, okay? And then, with my sit-ups and my crunches, 100 times, mga ganun yung with my planking, 60 seconds or 1 minute, mga ganun. And then of course every day or every week I look at my weight. Am I losing certain amount of pounds? My goal is to lose 3 to 5 pounds every month, for example. Okay, so that will be my lag measure. So you see the difference? Activities yung lead measure, yung lag measure is the numerical goals or target that you want to achieve or the results. So when you have your vision, purpose, strategic planning is actually looking back at past performances, milestones and misses. You do your SOAR analysis, and then once you know where you're supposed to go, your vision, right, your why, you start plotting out the how and the what. And this could be specific goals or action plans, and they have to be specified with lead measures and lag measures. Just like this this next slide I'm going to show you, parang when it comes to events for let's say this car company, ito yung leading measures and ito yung lagging measures which is connected na to the revenues. Okay, the leading measures is getting people to attend the event. And then pag customer satisfaction, evaluation, parang leading and lagging na siya. How much people are converted to use the product because of the event, lag measure na siya. Revenues, lag measure pa rin siya. So from marketing metrics to business metrics. Do you follow? Okay, let me go back to my previous slide. Act on the lead measures while you monitor the lag measures. And that's how you audit your performance throughout the year. In marketing, and I had a marketing background before, it's very effective to connect the business results with the marketing results. Kasi yung marketing kasi normally para siyang activities driven lang. Okay, what you do, how many people attended, how many likes, how many followers, how many impressions. But then the business measures are what's converted, what's convertible, what's the usage rate, what's the satisfaction rate. So those are the things that you probably need to add when you set your action plan or your goals for the coming year. Remember this, guys, and this is probably a good quote that would come from me. If you can measure it, you can improve on it. Okay? So the next year that you do your strategic planning, pag ginawa niyo yung milestones and misses ninyo, tsaka SOAR analysis, may basihan na kayo, right? Because you have your lead measures and your lag measures. And for those, diba, so, kunwari milestone, feeling niyo, when we did the showcase or when we did the annual conference, milestone, yay! But when you look at your lag measures, hindi naman kayo nakakuha ng conversion or wala naman business revenues doon. So, milestone nga siya, but do you continue, do you persevere, or do you pivot? Diba? So, pwedeng maganda siya on the outside, but business results, it's a failure. So you may want to rethink that. Or sometimes you miss on something, and you saw a competitor actually doing it, and they're doing it well, and you saw numbers and figures of their results. Maybe it's high time that we imitate that, or we copy that. Alright? So just remember, when you set your goals, you need to have a deadline. Because a goal without a deadline is just a dream. Alright, so this is Boris Joaquin again. Thank you for joining me in this almost an hour of webinar on strategic direction, making strategy work for you. We're going to entertain some questions, and we're probably going to reply to them on whatever you're going to send to us on the comment section below. So thank you for joining us. So there you have it. That's strategic direction for you, strategic direction 101, making strategy work for you. Now, I would love to answer your questions. So if you have questions or you have inquiries or you want to bring this to your company, just email us, okay? And on the PMAP website, and we will reply to you, or somebody from PMAP will connect with you, or probably I'll connect with you, who knows, okay? So thank you again for joining us. Thank you for being a participant in today's webinar, Strategic Direction, Making Strategy Work for You. This is Boris Joaquin. God bless you all.